Have you ever wondered what it's like to be in the 1700s in France? You've committed a crime and you are now sentenced to go to the gallows. No? Well, you could probably ask Billy Napier. That's probably about how he currently feels in his state of affair at Florida. Welcome in. This is Talking Tide. If you had no idea where I was going with that, I didn't either. Welcome to the club. What happened while I was gone? Seriously, I leave for 7-8 days out of town. I come back and college football is in pandemonium. So what happened? Well, football happened. We're going to talk about a lot of it. We have a lot to get to in this week's show. If you see that this is a 2.5, 3-hour show, don't be surprised. We have a lot to talk over. A lot of big stuff happened this past weekend, and a lot of big stuff is set up to happen this weekend coming up. First things first, look at this. We got the new studio set up. I got home. I woke up yesterday at 3 o'clock. Well, I say I woke up. I did not sleep the night before. I have a real bad problem sleeping when I actually need to, whether it's for golf tournaments or whether it's for travel. I did not sleep a wink. I was up for 20-something hours, 27, 28 hours. We leave the house at 3 o'clock in the morning from up north, get on an airplane, fly Delta back to Atlanta, get in the car, drive home for 2 hours. I went and took a solid 4-hour power nap, woke up, watched some basketball, and then set up this. I think it looks great. I'm not going to lie. There's a ton of stuff, still some stuff I want to add up, but it's a great space to start. There may be a few little technical details. Hopefully nothing goes wrong. This is the first time. I genuinely just got it set up. Behind the camera is a mess. The computer that it's set up to record is hanging on by a thread. So if there's any weird technical difficulties, I apologize. They will get better. But it's Friday night. We have to get a show out because it is the third Saturday of October. Okay, let's get into it. First things first, I want to say thank you for tuning in. And I'm going to ask you this. I don't implore you to do it now. If you're in and you're 5, 10, 20 minutes, 2.5 hours into this show, and you think to yourself, well, I'm enjoying this, please go down. Please hit that like button. If you go back and you see catalogs of videos you like, I implore you to subscribe. It means a lot. I'm not going to steal your info. I'm not going to sell it to somebody. It's not going to download a bug, anything like that. It's a simple click from you, but it means a lot to me, whether it's you like, you subscribe. If you really like it a lot, hit the little bell notification. We do live videos every once in a while. So if you enjoy it that much, please do so. A ton of work has gone into this setup, but just the Talking Tide page overall. So please do like, please subscribe if you enjoy. Okay, let's get into it. First things first, I want to talk about, it's kind of old news, but if you're a Penn State fan, you are in a spot you have not been in over a decade at this point. There's history being made. You're in the middle of a coaching search. This is, like I said, this is old news at this point, but I was up in a undisclosed state in the north. If you follow me on Instagram at Talking Tide, you'll know where I was. So please do follow on the Instagram as well. I get a text from my brother saying, James Franklin just got fired. I said, okay. I kind of thought it was a bit of a satire article. This is the day after they lost to Northwestern. I see that kind of stuff pop up all the time on Instagram. But no, it was confirmed. James Franklin was fired from Penn State following the loss to Northwestern. That's their third loss in a row. They lost to Oregon, UCLA, and then Northwestern. So they were on a 3-game slide. There's a lot of talk around this. And like I said, a lot of it's already been said. This was last weekend, almost 6-7 days ago now at this point, which in football terms it could have been last year at this point. A couple of questions that come out of this are, well, the two big questions are, did they do the right thing and who's next? So we'll tackle the first one first. Did they do the right thing? In my mind, yes. Did they do it at the right time? I'm going to go with no. I think it was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. And I will defend Penn State in the way of saying, you lost your quarterback in that game against Northwestern. You're 0-3 in the last 3 games. You're not looking like you have a playoff spot. You've got Indiana, Ohio State coming in a couple of weeks. Your season is basically over unless you're playing for a mediocre bowl game, which we know is not Penn State's overall goal. They want to make playoffs. They want to win national championships. So I think for them, and to steal a quote from the same brother who texted me this, I think they just wanted to rip the Band-Aid off. They want to get this over with. They are in a tough spot at the moment. James Franklin, as much as Penn State is, I think that they just want to get it over with. This season is a write-off. We're trying to go ahead and find our new permanent solution. And I think that it is the right move. It is time for James Franklin to move on. I said it 4 weeks ago. I don't think Penn State is where they should be or where they need to be or where they think they can be as far as a program goes. And I don't know if James Franklin is the guy to get it done for them. And, well, as it turns out, he was not. So 3 losses in a row, get an automatic fire. Now, the second question to that is, who is the next guy in line for the job? I mean, there are names thrown out all over the place. Everyone from Nick Saban to John Gruden, guys who aren't in football at the current time of recording. I don't see either of those guys taking the job. The first name I saw thrown up is Matt Rule. Matt Rule, head coach at Nebraska. Full transparency, I initially thought Kirk Cignetti was going to be a big contender for this job, but yesterday he ended up signing an 8-year contract, 8-year extension at his spot in Indiana, so I don't think he's going anywhere. Matt Rule is the first guy I see come up. A couple other names as well. I had them all written down on my laptop. I'm doing this all on the laptop now to see if I can make it better. It makes my show notes way faster to write, but I've got to do a better job of organizing them at times. So Matt Rule is one of them. He's pretty much the overall leader in the odds market. Seeing some places say he's about a plus 150 to end up going, so close to a 50-50 shot. Joe Brady's another one, the head coach the offensive coordinator for the Bills. Eli Drinkowitz, Missouri head coach. John Summerall, Matt Campbell. There's a lot of names being thrown out there. One name I thought was an interesting pick is Clark Lee, head coach at Vanderbilt. At the current time of recording, that could change. You never really know. I don't think he's going to get fired. I think he might get promoted, just to be completely transparent. I think he's a good look for Penn State. Penn State and Vanderbilt, and when you look at them as programs, comparatively, as far as money and tradition and history go in college football, Vanderbilt does not hold a candle to Penn State. But you have a guy like Clark Lee who's really brought them into the national picture. They're favorites against LSU this weekend. I don't remember the last time Vanderbilt was favored in an SEC game. It's been a long time. So he's done a very good job of transforming that program into what it is today. But now you get your guy like Diego Pavia. He's going to be leaving at the end of the season. You look at that and say, you know what, this might not be an opportunity I can pass up. Penn State, as it turns out, and I don't know what will go in the future, but Penn State, at the moment of recording, is very stubborn with their head coaches. I mean, James Franklin was there for 12 years and he didn't win much of anything, to be completely honest, in the past decade. So I don't know when that head coaching job is going to come open again. And if you're a guy like Clark Lee who says, you know what, I'm looking for my big break, let's go ahead and try and take this job, see if we can elevate this Penn State team to not just being a fringe playoff contender, but a real contender to win a national championship. And I think Clark Lee is a great coach. I said it whenever we had the Vanderbilt show. I think he's done a great job with this Vanderbilt team. I think he's done a good job of changing the culture there. And I think he can go in and change the culture at Penn State also. All right. Also, I want to talk about who's got it better than being a fired, successful head coach. I mean, when you look at a guy like James Franklin's buyout, $49 million, and if he goes and takes a job that pays him less than $8 million, he gets the $50 million plus his paycheck on top of that. That is crazy work. But hey, you know what? Fair play to him. If I'm him, I'm going to take an FCS job, no risk kind of job, and just sitting there making bank. But, you know, James Franklin, I saw some sources say that he's potential, and we'll talk about the story here in a second. We'll get straight into it, actually. Let's just go straight into Billy Napier in Florida. Multiple sources this weekend saying that Billy Napier's last game in Florida will be this weekend against Mississippi State. To be fair to Billy, I think that he's done a good job of, when his back is against the wall, he wins the big games that keeps him in the job. But this weekend they have Mississippi State. I don't think that even if they win this game 50-0, I don't think it's a big enough pull. I don't think it's a big enough win for him to keep his job. I think he's staring down the barrel of being fired from Florida. I think this will be his last game in charge. Just the trajectory of Florida over the past few years haven't been positive. And to be fair to Billy, I will play devil's advocate for him. Every time I look at that Florida schedule, it's hard. Every single year. There's never an easy week. There's never an easy game. So fair play to him. He's taken on the tough spots in the sport, but I just don't think he's done enough this season and seasons previous. There was a lot of expectation coming into this year with DJ Lagway. They thought that this Florida team could really compete and go on to be a playoff contender, an SEC contender, and they're just not there. So I do think this will be the last time that Billy plays in Gainesville. Also, it's a little bit more of an opportune time. They have a bye week following the Mississippi State game, so it will allow somebody to come in, get settled. I mean, we're talking about it right now. I think that Billy Napier probably knows the writings on the wall. Florida themselves are probably already in discussion as far as who's going to be the next guy. Heck, they may not even be in negotiations with somebody. They could have somebody lined up and announce them Monday or Sunday even. So I think that it probably is the right move for Florida. I like Billy Napier. I don't like to see him fail, but this just hasn't been the fit that he's needed. I think that he can find other jobs. Penn State's one that's open now. James Franklin was another name that was thrown around for the Florida job. I don't think that's going to happen. There have been a ton of names thrown out there. Nothing nearly as solid as far as the Penn State job goes, because as of right now, they still have a head coach, but just the rumors swirling, saying that they will not after this weekend. So I think for Florida, it's the right move. I think it's the most opportune time. You have a bye week coming up, and you're just not going to get much farther with Billy Napier. You have a guy like DJ Lagway who's incredibly talented, but when you look at this team as a whole in the past 2 years, they've wholly underperformed. So time to move on from Billy. Florida more than likely to be without a head coach after this weekend. Let's talk Red River. Red River shootout, because that's tradition. We've talked a lot of coaches. Let's talk some football. The Red River shootout happened this past weekend, Texas versus Oklahoma, and I blatantly said that I thought Oklahoma was going to walk away with this game. Boy, was I wrong. Texas 23, Oklahoma 6. Texas outgained Oklahoma 302-58. Texas found that run game, and Oklahoma was, to say bad is an understatement. The big question coming into this game was, is John Mateer healthy, and is he going to play in this ball game? He was healthy enough to play in this game. I'm not going to say he's 100%, but they did play him in this football game, and they were worse off for it. 3 interceptions. Texas would end up winning the turnover battle 3-0 because of those 3 interceptions. Was Mateer healthy 100%? No. He was not the same guy we've seen over the past couple of weeks, a real Heisman contender. He had 202 yards, which he actually out through Manning as far as numbers go, 20 for 38, but the 3 interceptions hurt his team a lot. That's just not the recipe to win rivalry games. I know Texas hasn't been the team we've expected them to be all year, but this Texas team looked improved. They looked motivated. They looked up for a rivalry game. They knew that they're probably not in a great spot to be in playoff contention or win the SEC, anything like that. But if there's anything a rival loves to do, it's spoil the season for the other team. So they have looked improved. Oklahoma definitely seemed like they took a step back in this game. Texas, while they're not a national championship contender, they took the steps in the right direction in this game. I thought Manning looked good. They found a run game. Wisner was running it all over that Oklahoma defense, which when you have a Brent Venables defense, I don't expect you to get run over like that. It's one thing I've always said with Venables. They may struggle on offense, and they did last season. They have at times this season, but the one thing they're always going to have is a solid defense, and they just didn't have it this week. Steve Sarkisian, great offensive mind. He outdueled him. He ended up just straight up beating Brent Venables heads up. And do I think that Oklahoma is out of the running for playoff contention or SEC contention? No. But kind of like Alabama in this way, now there's no room for error. If you go out and you underperform in a game and you lose, your name could very well be tossed out of championship contention. So I think that they will be okay. They've taken a big step back this week, but Mateer being hurt, getting limited practice time, limited play time coming up to this game, not being 100% during game time, I think that Oklahoma will be fine going forward, but the noose is shortened, and I think that they will have to now go ahead and play flawless football, which, again, they don't have an easy schedule either. They got Bama. They're coming to Bama here in a couple of weeks, so for them, it's just a matter of now you cannot have any excuses. You can't have any mistakes going forward now in your season if you really want to be talked about in championship contention. All right, on to the next. So Now, this is going to be a bit of a two-part story in this game. We had Auburn, Georgia this past weekend. Now, when you talk about rivalry games, that one's right up there as far as heated rivalry games go. It doesn't get much better than Auburn, Georgia. This one was at Jordan Hare. I want to talk about how this game played out on the field first, and then we'll get into what everybody wants to talk about, which is refereeing. I want to talk about it as well, to be completely blatant, but we talk football here. We don't talk referees. We do talk referees, but I would much rather talk football first. Okay, this game was a game of two halves. Kirby said it at the end of the game. How Auburn could go and play that first half to the second half, it dumbfounds me. Now, there are reasons they did do this, but the capitulation from Auburn is something to be studied. Now, we'll go through this first half. Auburn played a great first half. Very well balanced, which I love a balanced offense. 123 through the air, 130 on the ground. They had 20 minutes time of possession versus Georgia's 8. Auburn led 3-10 at half. The downside for Auburn, they put up 50 yards of total offense in the second half, and they had moments where there were chances to go up and extend the lead against Georgia. They had a moment to go up 17-0. They ended up fumbling, which ended up being the turning point of this game. I actually had a stat written down. The time of, let's see. So before the fumble at the end of the half, or near the end of the half, let's see, I wrote them down here. Auburn had 261 yards of total offense. After that, they had 14. And this was with about 2:16 to go in that second half. Georgia, 20 yards of total offense before the fumble, 238 after. If that doesn't show you a tale of two halves, I don't know what does. So what changed? Well, a lot of changed in the way this game was played, the way the game flowed, and we'll start right after or during that fumble. Let's just go straight to it. I got it pulled up. So let's see. Oop, this might not be the right one. So here's the fumble. This is the moment that everyone is talking about. I'll play through it a little bit. Don't want to get copywritten. So we see here 1 yard line, Jackson Arnold, quarterback sneak, tries to go right over the top. And you'll see right here, this right hand from a Georgia player comes out, it's going to punch that ball. So bang. As soon as that happens, oops, didn't mean to do that. As soon as that happens, bang. The ball is punched free, comes loose, and then a second fist comes in and punches that ball out. Now, this was contentious to say the least. There's a couple of different angles. I hadn't got pulled up here where you can see the ball crossing the plane, but they show this second punch rather than the first one more than anything. And the ball was knocked free after that. That first right hand comes in there. And I think that whatever was called on the field was always going to stand. If they call it a touchdown, it's going to stay as a touchdown. If they called it a fumble, which they did in this scenario, it's going to stay a fumble. I just don't think you can overturn it. They watched it back a ton of times, a lot of different angles, and you just could not tell if that ball was knocked free before it crossed the plane or not. Now, I'm going to catch flack for that because I'm an Alabama fan. I dislike Georgia. I dislike Auburn. But for me personally, I just don't think you can overturn that. And that whenever I talked about that in online circles, that seemed to be the consensus overall. So that happens. And then we go ahead, we get down. I just want to read to you what followed. That was some of the worst football I've ever seen played. And I'm not talking about from a player standpoint. I'm talking about from a viewer spectacle. What happened, what transpired after this moment is some of the worst football ever seen by man. Now, I did pick up a bit of head cold, so if I sound very nasally, I apologize. I'm going to take a sip of my drink, and then we will get into this just debacle of what happened for the following minute and 30 of game time. So instead of playing it for you, I'll read it for you because I will get knocked down with copyright. So what happened after this? So we saw the ball got punched out. Georgia picks up the ball on the 1 yard line. So the events that occurred after this. First things first, Georgia run outside of the left, get a first down, get the ball to the 17. Next, 7 yard pass play, 6 yard pass play. Then we really get into where this came to a grinding halt. I might have this one pulled up as well. Let's just go straight to it. Not that one. All right. So on that second pass play, it was a low ball, came in. I just want you to watch the officials here. And I don't have the audio turned up because, again, copyright. I hate it, but it is what it is. Actually, sorry. This is the Kirby timeout. I don't actually believe I have this play pulled up. That's fine. I'm not worried about it. If you go back and watch, the ball snapped. Georgia and Stockton roll out to the right side. He looks to throw the ball. And then as he's rolling away, the referee calls the play dead. He blows the play dead after the ball is snapped. And if you watch this play go back, you can see that Stockton was probably going to be wrapped up in the backfield. He may get a yard or two, but that play was stunted and dead. So referees blow the play dead as it's happening. Go back, review the catch. It's a catch. First down. All right. Well, Georgia get away with one there. Next play, 12-yard pass to the sideline. First down for Georgia. All right. Everybody gets lined up. We snap the ball. Whistles again. Previous play is under review. It is announced it's under review for the receiver, making sure the receiver caught the ball inbounds. It looked on the camera like he clearly caught it inbounds. And when they went back and looked at the replay, again, seems like he caught it inbounds. You can't return it. But what was also looked at that was not announced, they were looking at targeting. Stockton took a big shot at the end of the play after he let the ball go, and it was clear targeting. To me, that's clear and obvious targeting. Quarterback throws the ball. He's kind of hopping as he throws it. Gets a piece of a helmet right up under a chin. I can't argue with the targeting call. So, all right, 15-yard penalty, onto the end of the catch. First down. That gets Georgia onto the other side of the 50. As you can imagine, the Auburn fans are kind of fed up at this point. They feel like they've had a couple of plays go against them. A lot of the 50-50 calls, none of them got called their way. So I feel bad for the guy who got targeting as well. He was crying on the sideline. That's always tough. In a rivalry game like that, plays happen. Stuff happens at speed. It's just, it's a hard thing. But again, I think it was targeting. So pass completion, targeting, gets him in Auburn territory. Next one, incomplete pass across the middle from Stockton. We got 1 minute to go till halftime. So Georgia out of timeouts, they get set to go. Again, another whistle blowing it dead. The electronic down marker doesn't work. Let's get a down marker going. Okay, snapped. Stockton throws the ball away. Another flag thrown. If I'm an Auburn fan, I'm really sick of it at this point. But when you look back, it's a roughing the passer call, and it's clear roughing the passer. I'm going to say all of the things that they've thrown flags for are reasonable things. But there's better ways to go about it, and I'll get into that here in a second. So clear foul. I'm going to go against Auburn. Gives Georgia an automatic first down. They're now inside the 30. Next play, incomplete pass. Throw a ball to the flat for no gain. Another flag comes in. Clear offside on Auburn. The edge rusher got off a little bit early. The hate for the referees is at an all-time high in Jordan-Hare at this moment. Look, I can't say anything. I would be fed up at this point. It is insane the amount that the referees have stepped into this game. But again, I can't really argue it because everything that we've seen has been a flag. It's been a reasonable flag thrown. So I get it. I get the frustration. But so far from what I saw in that time, the referees did nothing wrong. But there are better ways to go about the way that this game was managed from a refereeing standpoint. All right. So we get moving. Georgia bust another run around the right side. Auburn end up bowing up their necks, getting a couple stops. Georgia kicks field goal. And then they go ready to kick the ball away. Kick the ball back to Auburn. Ball goes out of the end zone. Guess what? Another flag comes down. This time for a blindside block. Now, we didn't actually get to see the replay on this one, but the ball got kicked straight out of the back of the end zone. I can't imagine there being much happening in this play, but another 15-yard penalty goes against Auburn. So with all of this debacle that just happened, from the 2-minute timeout to the end of the half was 36 minutes. 36 minutes. That clock said 2:00. It took 36 minutes for that clock to go from 2 to 000. That is absurd. That is ridiculous. Now, another big controversy happened with the referees. This one came in the fourth quarter. This was 1:36 left to go in this game. I do have this one pulled up, so we will bring that up. So we can see the game clock running down. Georgia has 2 timeouts at this moment. They're driving, trying to go ahead and put up another touchdown and go by 2 scores. And this happens. Everybody's seen this. So timeout called. We can see the official come up. He's signaling with his 2 hands, pointing in the direction of Georgia, saying that they called a timeout. Play clock was running out. Fair enough. Don't want to lose field position. We're going to call a timeout. Kirby comes out and is arguing with this referee, saying, I didn't call a timeout. He is saying he is clapping. Now, at least that's what it looked like in the initial broadcast. So what's come out after this, you can go back and you can see a wider angle of this. You can see the Auburn safety clapping his hands. And for those of you who don't know, that should be offensive delay of game, where or disconcerting signals, whatever they call it nowadays, where you can clap. And since that is the normal signal to get the snap off, the center could snap the ball whenever the defense claps instead of the quarterback. So rule put against it now, if the defense is clapping, they will get flagged for the most part. There are times where, it's referee discretion, I would say. And the referees didn't see it, or they ignored it. When I go back and watch it, the guy's clapping. I don't know if it's for hyping or if he's trying to get the center to snap the ball. I don't know. But the problem comes, okay, Kirby can go out there. He can say his piece to the referee saying he's clapping. You got to watch him. That's not what happens. Kirby comes out here. He's saying that the safety is clapping, and therefore I should not have to use my timeout. Now, I understand all the Georgia. Like, I made a post on this, and Georgia fans came at me for it, saying, "Oh, the safety was clapping. The safety was clapping." That's fine. The safety is clapping. He should get flagged for it. The referee should be aware of it, and you go about your business like that, saying, "Hey, referee, I burned my timeout, but you need to know that guy's clapping, and you need to keep your eyes out for it." Referee will say, "Okay, I'll keep my eyes out for it." That's not what happens. All right, so here we are lined up. The game clock's about to hit 0. You can see Stockton trying to get the snap off. It was never getting off, by the way. People said that online. That snap was never getting off in time. You see him here, look, clearly signaling timeout, doing this, the universal sign. You don't have to know football. You don't have to watch football. This is a sign for timeout. This is not I'm clapping or he's clapping or I'm trying to get your attention to say the safety's clapping. This is a timeout. So Kirby comes out here. I can't tell in this if he's saying clapping or time. I swear he's saying time. And that's what gets the referee's attention. He goes out here and signals timeout because Kirby Smart clearly calls timeout here. So they go out there. The side judge has a discussion with the white hat, the head official, and says, "Oh, he was trying to get our attention and say that the safety was clapping." The white hat should then go on and say, "Okay, well, did he call a timeout?" Yes? Okay. Timeout called. We'll keep an eye out for it. Go have that discussion with him. Or the second half of that, if he says, well, no, he didn't call it. He wasn't trying to call a timeout. Okay. Delay of game. Take your 5-yard penalty, but we'll keep an eye out for it. You keep your timeout. That's the only 2 discussions that should be happening. They took option 3, which says, okay, we'll keep an eye out for that. But also, Kirby, you get to keep your timeout. That's not an option. That was never an option in this scenario. Not a chance. But that is the option the referees took. And this is where I want to get into, and this is the place I could rant. So if I do rant, I do apologize. The way these games are officiated is horrible. And it's only getting worse. Back in the day when it was college football as it was back at its roots, we'll call it at this point, where players weren't getting paid. They weren't betting on, there wasn't as much money in the betting market, all this stuff. It is what it is at that point. College football now is a multi-billion-dollar business. And the safety of the players, the integrity of the game, the pace of the game, the way it is played is all being controlled by part-time employees. Referees are part-time employees of the NCAA. And this is what happens when you hire or you put your trust in the integrity and the faith and the flow of the game into a part-time employee. We saw it last year, Texas versus Georgia, Georgia as well. Texas versus Georgia, pass interference called. Fans start throwing stuff onto that negated a touchdown or negated an interception that got inside the 5. Fans start throwing stuff onto the field, protesting that it should never been a pass interference call. Okay, that sucks. They don't like it, but you can't go back and preemptively change that just because the fans are being unruly. That's not how the game works. Guess what? They went back and changed the result because the fans were being unruly. That's not how the game works. And whenever you get into, and again, I can rant all day on this subject about referees. You can ask anybody. If there's one thing that needs to change in college football, it's not NIL. It's not the portal. It's the way games are refereed. And it's the way referees are employed and treated in the sport. So I'm going to try and get back onto my notes a little bit here. And again, most of the calls that were called in this game, I would say were correct. The targeting, correct. Roughing the passer, correct. The fumble on the field, whether it was correct or not, it was not overturnable. You can't overturn how close that was. It was just not discernible. You couldn't change it. But the way it is handled and presented is crazy to me. You have people in the NCAA and in the TV world saying, oh, we need to shorten games. LSU, Texas A&M game a couple years ago went to like 52 overtimes, 72 to 70, something like that. Okay, well, we need to fix this. What do we need to fix? The games were taking too long. Okay, well, I mean, us as fans, more football, the better. I don't care, especially when it's a close game like that. I don't care. Okay, you can argue it and say, well, TV slots need to be filled. There's TV shows that come out. There's live TV that comes out that it's not fair to them saying, okay, well, college football can just take over that slot and that show doesn't air or this live event doesn't go on the TV. Okay, I get that. It's whatever. Fine, you can shorten games a little bit. All right, well, we'll change the overtime rule and we'll change if you go out of bounds before the 2-minute warning, the clock doesn't stop. Okay, I hate that personally. I think that makes us more like the NFL, and I don't want to be the G League for the NFL, but there's an argument to be had for it. You can't then go and say, we want to shorten games, but you know what we'll have? We'll have 36 minutes in between the 2-minute timeout and the end of the half. 36 minutes because the referees do not have a streamlined way of fixing things. And when I say that, you need to have reviews get initiated before the ball is snapped. That's one good way you could do it. You need to have a better way of communication between each referee individually versus or referees and coaches. You need to have a streamlined way of making this stuff happen. And on top of that, you need to have referees who are competent enough in what they do to, when they are argued back to with someone like Kirby Smart, who's a recognizable name, a big name in the sport of college football, they need to be able to say, no, you called it. You clearly called a timeout. We can go. We don't have to show you the review of you calling. You know you called timeout. You are going to be charged a timeout, but we will keep eyes up for this. Referees are never going to do that. They don't have the gall to do that, even though it is the right thing. And here's the reason they'll do it, because they never have to answer for it. Well, we saw the referees in the game versus Texas. They go out there, they change the call on the field. The only time they ever hold accountability for anything is whenever the crowd boos. They want to get cheers as much as anybody else. They'll go out there and say, you know what? We didn't get it wrong. We got it right. Or we're going to stand by what we called because it's non-reviewable in the way of the pass interference call. And even though you don't like it, we are trying to uphold the integrity of the game, and we can't change it now. We'll get it right in the future, but for this instance, it's not going to be changed, no matter how much you whine and cry. Because that's how referees should be mentally. And whenever you go down that route of saying referees need to take accountability, I've said this for years now. When you talk about taking accountability, whenever a guy goes out there and throws a game-losing interception, what does he do right after the game? He goes and sits in front of the media. When a coach goes out there and blows a call and loses the game, what does he do? He goes and sits in front of the media. Whenever a referee blows a call, what does he do? He goes and gets in the car and go home. No accountability. Don't know my name. Goodbye. I'll see you next week. I'll be refereeing your favorite teams next week. Good luck. That's the thing whenever it comes to bad refereeing. It's coming to a school near you very soon. Unless something changes. What needs to change? Referees need to be full-time employees of the NCAA. Full stop. It's as simple as that. What does that allow you to do? Well, number one, Jimmy Joe, the referee, does not go and he sits at AutoZone or sells insurance on the weekdays. No. He goes, he gets in on Monday, goes in, studies film, talks about what they got wrong and what they got right as a crew. That's number one, film study. Number two, talk about ways to streamline these problems that we've been having. Why does it take so long for a review to get put into the play? If you think that it's targeting or you think that it's the guy went out of bounds, you have 40 to 25 seconds to try and get that message across. Just say, hey, hold up for a second. We need to take a look at this before you're allowed to snap the ball. And we don't want it every play. God forbid. Anytime a referee blows his whistle in Bryant-Denny when I'm there, the rage that fills inside of me is crazy, especially when you have momentum, you're moving the ball, you're playing well, and then that gets stunted by a referee. That's why I brought up the third down marker thing, saying, you know what? We'll figure out a way to get this going, but it's so stop-starting whenever referees start to get involved in these games. It takes up so much time. We're not there to watch referees. We're here to watch football. And if you're not going to help uphold the integrity of the game, help out with player safety, keep the game streamlined and moving, what are you there for? When I talk about each of those three things, other than the player safety, they missed two of them. They did not uphold the integrity of the game, and they did not make it streamlined and enjoyable for the viewer to watch. At the end of the day, it's a TV product. It's supposed to be enjoyable for people to watch. They failed on 2 out of 3. They got the player safety, they called the targeting, but they failed on 2 out of 3. The integrity of the game was broken whenever you let Kirby Smart have his timeout back, and the streamlining of the game took 36 minutes to go from 2-0. You failed on 2 out of 3. So you need to go and sit down on Monday through Sunday or Monday through Friday, have a discussion about how you can do better as a referee. And then after you referee your game on Saturday, if you do something contentious, you sit down in front of an interview table and you talk about it. You can defend yourself. You can say, hey, well, this is what I saw. If that referee sits down and says, after Kirby calls the timeout, and he goes, blows the whistle, he turns and he says, well, you know what? I turned to my left and I saw Kirby doing this right here, saying timeout. I blew the whistle for a timeout. That's why he got charged for one. Except in this case, he didn't get charged for one, but that's what should have been said. But no, that guy's going to go sit at his job selling insurance or working at AutoZone and say, you know what? I'll see you guys next Saturday. And don't get me wrong, there are good referees out there. That referee might say, you know what? I was in the wrong. But he didn't get the opportunity to say that because the NCAA will not make them full-time employees. Make it make sense. It doesn't. And look, I'm not saying this. Refereeing is a hard job. My family always says, you know what, you need to go be a referee. No, I do not want to be a referee. But the fact that you can screw it up so badly and face no repercussions is insane. We talked about with that Texas game. Well, Georgia was winning anyway. It didn't really change the outcome of the game. Well, the first thing I said was, what happens whenever it's going to affect the outcome of a game? And I'm not saying this game was changed by the outcome of whether it was the fumble, the targeting, the timeout thing. I think Auburn were probably going to lose this game anyway. Georgia made the right adjustments to win this game, and they held them to 40 yards in the second half. I'm not saying Auburn was going to win this game. But did that have an effect on it? Absolutely. You had 36 minutes of nothing happening. You had 6 plays or 8 plays running 30-something minutes. You can't play a football game like that. If you're an athlete and you go out there and you know how the flow of the game is played. If you played high school football or middle school football, the game is flowing, the game is moving. If you play college ball, the game is flowing, the game is moving. We don't want to have to stop and go and stop and go and stop and go 8 times for 36 minutes. That is insane. It's ridiculous. And on top of that, you get TV commercials and all that other stuff, but we're not going to talk about that. But at the end of the day, officiating is getting worse, not better, even though more and more and more money is dumped into this sport. And instead of trying to make the sport better, it's pocketed. But again, We're not going to talk about that. It just gets to the point of where people saying, well, the referee is, oh, well, they got it right because it's my team. I had plenty of Georgia people come at me saying, oh, you're a Bama fan. You're just mad that Georgia won. What am I mad about? We beat Georgia, and I hate Auburn. But I'm saying Auburn got screwed in certain scenarios. But at the same time, I have other Georgia fans saying that was a horrible product to watch. Not for the quality of play on the field, but for the quality of entertainment value. I don't want to sit there and watch the referees on my screen all day long. Nobody wants that. Who's here to watch the referee? Other than maybe the referee's mom. Nobody wants that. So I think that, and it's not going to be solved this year or in the middle of the season, whatever it is, but officiating has to make big improvements if college football continues to grow on the trajectory it's growing on. Like I said, it's a multi-billion-dollar business. Athletes are allowed to gamble on professional sports now. The betting is at an all-time high. The amount of money that goes into the sport at this moment in time is crazy. And the fact that the NCAA has done nothing about fixing the officiating problem that's so blatantly obvious, it's absurd, to put it lightly. Like I said, I could rant on this all day long. I'm not going to anymore. But and here's the thing that I hate the most about it is we sit here talking more about the referees than actually the quality of the play. We spent a couple of minutes talking about Auburn, Georgia. I can spend 3 hours talking about the way the officials screwed up this football game. That's not what the sport is supposed to be about. We're supposed to be talking run defense versus run game, pass defense versus pass game, quarterback versus quarterback. We're not here to talk about the referees screwing stuff up. But whenever it happens, it has to be called out in the hopes that something might eventually change. Whew. All right, let's go down to the next thing. We are talking tight here. We're going to talk Bama football. We're going to talk both the Missouri game and the upcoming Tennessee game because we didn't get to talk about Missouri this past weekend. Alabama went on the road to face Missouri, and they walked away with their third-ranked win in a row. Good football game. They beat Missouri 24-27. Numbers first. We'll talk about that. Ty had another good game, 23 for 31, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 1 fumble. His counterpart, Bo Perbula, 16 of 28, 168, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. So Ty, again, played a good football game, didn't throw an interception. He continues to take care of the ball very well despite the 1 fumble. Bama had 125 on the ground, Jam being the leading rusher with 85 yards on 20 carries. He did unfortunately go out with injury. We will talk about that. Mizzou, one of the best running teams in the country, had 163 on the ground. Perbula actually being their leading rusher with 61 yards on 11 carries. We'll start with saying that Bama did a great job of containing the run game. Ahmad Hardy is one of the best running backs in the country, but Bama gave him the Leonard Fournette treatment. That was exactly what I thought about. Somebody posted that the other day. Held him to 52 yards on 12 carries. Did a great job containing the run. That's the first thing we talked about that they needed to do to win this game. And they did a good job of containing Hardy. Bama's leading receiver, Latsier Brooks, 4 catches on 58 yards. He also had the play of the game. The clutch play in this game was on a 4th down and 8. Ty threw an absolute dot, a Sunday level throw to Latsier Brooks, who ended up even losing his helmet, but made a great catch. Freshman's doing a good job stepping up this year. A couple other guys who did well. Isaiah Horton stepped up, 3 for 31, but 1 touchdown. Jerem had a bit of a quiet day, especially for him. 3 catches for 20 yards. One of the big talking points that everybody wants to talk about is Ryan Williams. He was listed as probable coming into this game. There was question marks on if he was going to play or not. He was hurt. He had no targets. I'm not really putting a lot into that story. He was put out there as a decoy a couple of times. I saw him line up one time. I think it was in the slot, and he just runs this slow little flat route across the field or to the near sideline. And I was like, you know what? He's not getting any touches today. He's a decoy out there. It is what it is. All right, let's talk about the flow of this game. Bama came into this game, had an emotional win against Vanderbilt last week. It was a trap game for all things considered. Missouri is a decent football team. They didn't really have any level of competition to play up to so far, but they've done a good job handling what's in front of them. Spread was 2.5 points. I said at the beginning of this game, I thought that Bama could run away with it. There's a couple of reasons why they didn't. Mizzou comes out, puts together one of the most complete drives I've seen all season. Scored a touchdown, threw a nice ball to a tight end. Bama does a good job, responds, ties the ball game 7-7. Bama goes out, gets a 3 and out. Eventually, they get up 17-7 at halftime. This game was poised to be broken wide open. Bama did a good job on offense, moving the ball, taking up time of possession, responding to a good Missouri drive, and the defense goes out there, gets a stop. We were in great shape going into halftime. Mizzou fumbled the ball twice. Dijon Lee had a chance to get it should have had an interception in the first half. But coming out of half, Bama gets the ball back, Ty gets sacked, fumble, Mizzou picks it up, goes in, scores a touchdown. Not on a scoop and score, but they put together a short drive and eventually do score, making this 17-14. It was the worst start we could have asked for opening up the second half. I sat there and watched that, and worst case scenario that could have happened went out and happened, barring some kind of injury, but we're not even going to bring that into the universe. The scoring after that for our offense kind of dried up. One field goal after that through the third quarter. But again, like I said, luckily the Bama, we came up clutch in the fourth quarter, 4th down and 8. Great throw to Latsier Brooks. Great throw from Ty. Genuinely a Sunday level throw. Best throw I've seen all season. And Ty's made some fantastic throws this year. That throw was the best of the bunch. We go on. We end up scoring late, put us up by 2 scores. Missouri, again, does a great job. They respond. They go out. They score a touchdown. 3-point game with 1:39 to go. Mizzou kicks an onside kick. Bama picks it up. Cole Adams, one of the best hands guys out there, on kick return for that very reason. Able to recover it. But Mizzou does a good job, stops Bama. We end up punting, pinning them deep. They try to rally. They throw an interception and lose the ball game. So a couple of good things to take out of this game. We'll start with that. We kept one of the Heisman favorites out of this football game. Like I said, we gave him the Leonard Fournette treatment. Ahmad Hardy got wrapped up a ton in this game. We did not give him a bunch of run lanes. Golly. First things first, let's talk about the good in this game. Bama did a great job with their run defense, holding Ahmad Hardy to 51 yards, one of the Heisman favorites. Like I said, we gave him the Leonard Fournette treatment. They did a good job. Rush defense was a question mark coming into the Vandy game for sure. Did a good job there. Backed it up with another good week this week. Another good for that defense, we could have had 5 turnovers. We got 2 interceptions late, one that sealed it, one that Bray had as well. Missouri put the ball on the ground 2 times in that first half. Pabula had 1, and I think Hardy had the other, or it was him or the other running back. And then Dijon Lee should have had an interception. So there were 5 turnovers we could have had in this ball game, but we just didn't get them. And I said at halftime, one of 2 things is going to happen. Either we're going to break out in the second half and bust this game wide open with turnovers, and we're going to get 3 takeaways in the second half and win the game comfortably, or we're going to live to regret them, and something in between happened. We got a couple of interceptions. We gave up a fumble of our own. We won the game because of another interception. So the in-between happened. This game could have fallen on either side. We could have walked away with this game and won it 42-10 after the half. But Missouri showed up. They played a decent ball game in that second half, and they made it closer than it probably should have been. Another good Ty had another solid day. Our wide receivers were not our best, and Missouri is a secondary that can be picked apart, but we didn't do a great job of it so far for this week, and we didn't do a great job of it last week either as far as converting on some of those opportunities, moving the ball down the field through the air. We did a good job of running the ball. One of our better rushing performances as far as taking care of the football. Big downside of that, though, Jam Miller concussed. We'll be playing this weekend. We'll talk about that and how I feel about that, but a big loss in that game. And we did it when 2 of our best wide receivers didn't really get a ton of touches. Jeremy had 3 catches, Ryan had 0. But guys like Zay Horton, Latsier Brooks, new guys coming into the program, did a good job stepping up. And that's what you have to have going forward in games like this. We came off an emotional win last week. Guys are beaten up or banged up or tired, but the schedule rolls on. Some other guys step up this week. We'll have some other guys step up next week, and you just got to take it game by game. So a couple of the new guys did a good job stepping up. The bad, like I said, Jim hurt, concussed, missed I don't actually remember. I think it was the 3rd or 4th quarter he got hurt, missed the back half of this game. So that's an unfortunate loss, both in the running game, because the running game has genuinely improved week over week versus Vandy and then now Mizzou. But losing our starting running back again for I would say a game. He's supposed to play this weekend, but losing him for the back half of that Missouri game definitely hurt us. Let's talk a little bit about the bad. We talked a little bit about Jam Miller hurt. Another thing I want to talk about is drives stalling out a little bit. I think that we saw it against Vanderbilt last week and said, okay, you know what, maybe it's a little bit of a fluke. We do a good job getting takeaways, defense getting 3 and outs, making good stops, doing a good job of coming up big in big moments. But offense struggling a little bit with moving the ball and converting on some of these drives. And I'll give you the drive chart in this game. So Bama early on did a good job. We went touchdown, field goal, punt, and then that was the end of the half. We didn't get the ball back after that. So 4 drives, 3 scores on those drives. We got 17 going into half. Next drive, out of the second half, fumble, punt, field goal missed, touchdown, punt, end the game. These 2 things do not belong. I don't know. And again, at times we talk about Ryan Grubb being too cute and too creative. I didn't feel that as much in this game, but there was something in this game that stalled us out big time. Missouri did a decent job getting pass rush. I think they have 4 sacks in this game. But again, that secondary is set up to be pieced up. And Ty did get hurt. I believe he was a little slow getting up after that sack. So there's reasons for it, but we should never be struggling against this Missouri secondary. Same thing with last week at Vanderbilt. I didn't pull up the drive chart for them, but actually I did. I lied to you. So last week against Vanderbilt, interception, field goal attempt, another miss, touchdown, punt, touchdown. That was the end of the half. Second half, field goal, touchdown. So scoring well in the second half, not scoring well in the first half, and then this week the opposite. Not scoring well in the second half, but scoring well in the first half. Same thing against Georgia. No points in the second half, all the points in the first half. So we hit our strides with offense, and we do a good job of taking away time of possession from other teams, but we have to be able to capitalize on this. I said it at the game, or I said it during the Missouri game. Whenever we have a lot of time of possession, but we don't end up with points, that hurts us more than it hurts them. Because most teams, like Tennessee this next weekend, can go out and they can score fast. Missouri, we don't have to worry about it as much. Vanderbilt, we don't have to worry about it as much. But whenever we play teams that can make explosive things happen, that time of possession away from us, or that time of possession for us, hurts to a point of saying we need to pay this off with points. Even if it's field goals, it's fine. Everybody would prefer touchdowns. Another interesting stat that I was looking around and found, our red zone efficiency. When you look at the stats saying we walk away with points a lot of the time, it's true, but we struggle to convert in the red zone. Touchdowns, that is. So in this past so far this year, for our red zone efficiency, 20 touchdowns, 7 field goals. And we scored a lot of those touchdowns against whether it's Wisconsin or ULM. We need to be more efficient in the red zone scoring. We saw it against, I think it was Wisconsin, where we line up in the double wingback formation and Jerm runs around the end to score a touchdown. We don't have to do stuff like that. We saw it this past weekend. Caden Proctor lined up not under center, lined up in the quarterback spot, gets his snap from the right tackle, and then tries to run in for a touchdown. We ended up with a field goal on that one too. Ty got stepped on, fell down. We lost 2 yards, and we couldn't score from there. So red zone efficiency just has to be better. It didn't bite us this past weekend. It didn't bite us against Vandy, but in the future, it has to be better. I think that we do get too cute inside the red zone, and it comes from a place when Grubb and Kane Womack's the same way, and saying you had to outcoach the other teams from places you came from, but now you don't. You have the big body guys. You have the weight up front. You've got guys who in the backfield can run the ball very well. You got a good quarterback. Go out there and just trust these guys in the red zone. Let them go out there, play their game. We don't have to get creative. We don't have to get cute. We can go out there and score on our own merits. And I think that's something we've lacked, and we need to clean that up, or we're going to get bit by it in the future. This weekend could be one of those weekends. So, and again, I'm not ragging on the offense. I'm just picking and choosing places where if I look at championship caliber teams convert in the red zone and not just field goals, touchdowns. So stuff like that is stuff that we need to improve on. But again, we shut down one of the best backs in the country. We won the turnover battle. Ty didn't throw another interception this week. We're doing well, but there's always places to improve. Let's talk about Tennessee. We'll just roll and go straight on into it. Got the matchup breakdown. We'll just go through it real quick as far as numbers go. Points per game, Bama 34, Tennessee 48. Tennessee, as we all know, runs an explosive offense, and these numbers prove it. Points allowed per game, Bama 17, Tennessee 29. Kind of, again, the same old story with Tennessee, struggling to keep numbers off the board, but they just try and outshoot you. Yards per game, Tennessee 527, Bama 431. A big plus there for Tennessee. But when we talk about strength of schedule, you may see why. Yards allowed per game, Bama 292, Tennessee 400. Again, another defensive swing for Bama. Passing yards per game, Tennessee 317, Bama 304. Pretty even split there. Passing yards allowed per game, big stat here, 135 for Bama. To be fair, we've played a lot of teams that don't throw the ball a ton, don't have super talented quarterbacks in the backfield, but passing yards allowed 135. Tennessee passing yards allowed 257. Big number there. Big plus for the Tide as well. Again, another secondary that we can go out there, and if we choose to, we can really lean into and start beating them up a little bit. Rushing yards per game, huge number for Tennessee, 210. Bama 126. So big plus there for Tennessee. This year they play a much more balanced offense, I think, than compared to what they have in the past. Rushing yards allowed, also Tennessee advantage in this, 136. Bama gives up 156 a game. But again, you can say the same thing. We played some very good teams as far as rushing game goes. Turnovers gained, both have 11. Turnovers lost, Bama with 2, Tennessee with 9. So a lot of turnovers given up from Tennessee. And the last stat, strength of schedule, Bama with the second strength of schedule, Tennessee with the 47th. So numbers can be skewed, but they're the numbers. They're out there. The DNA that Tennessee has installed these past few years is very much alive still. Go fast, score a lot of points, spread it out. Has been the Heupel DNA for the past couple of years at Tennessee, but they've done a better job this year of balancing that out. I mean, we saw it in the numbers, 210 rushing yards a game. They do a much better job of running the ball this year than I've seen in the past. Instead of just saying, you know what, we can live with 30 run yards. We're going to throw the ball for 700 and see if you can keep up. So they do a much better job of staying balanced. You know me, you know I love a balanced offense. So they do a very good job of playing complementary offense. They throw the ball well. They've got a good stable of wide receivers. They got a fantastic running back in the backfield in Deshaun Bishop. Great story, by the way. Walk on last year, now averaged 7.6 yards a carry. Crazy stat. So we're still going to have to contain the run game, and we're going to have to cover it up over the top. That's going to be a challenge we haven't really faced so far this year, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about wide receiver core. Now, when you talk about these two wide receiving cores, two of the best in the country. Bama's as deep as anybody. Tennessee also as deep as anybody. Got a good stable of wide receivers. Number one go-to guy, Chris Brazzell. Expect to hear his name a lot this Saturday. 536 yards, 8 touchdowns, long of 72 yards, and averages 89 yards per game. Braylon Staley, 431 so far this year on 31 catches, 2 touchdowns, averages about 71 a game. Mike Matthews, 25 catches, 416, 2 touchdowns to his name, averages about 70 per game. So very balanced at the top. Chris Brazzell, the number one guy there by some way, but they've got a great set of depth at wide receiver like Bama does. We have our number one guy. It's Germ. Got a lot of yards this year, but we have talent to back him up whenever that number one guy's covered up. This will be the best group of wide receivers we played all season. And on top of that, we're going to be playing the most dangerous quarterback in the way that he's a good quarterback with arm talent, and he also has guys that throw the ball too. We've played some good quarterbacks this year. We've played against some good wide receiver cores this year, but neither have had the mix of saying we got the guys to beat you down the field, and we've got a guy who can get him the ball. We saw last year that Nico Maliava missed a couple of deep shots for Tennessee where we were beat. We got beat a lot in that secondary last year rather. So this year, don't expect us to get those breaks. But at the same time, I would say our secondary is much improved from last year, both in depth, talent, and experience. Let's talk about the Bama wide receivers. Jeremy Bernard, number one, 28 catches, 412, averages about 68 a game with 5 touchdowns. Isaiah Horton, done a great job stepping into this program this season, making a lot of impacts early. 21 catches, 270 yards, 4 touchdowns. And then Ryan Williams, of course, talent. Just hasn't shown it as much this year. 336, 3 touchdowns on 21 catches. And, of course, Bama has their own elite quarterback, Ty Simpson. It comes down to, can Bama eat up that secondary? And can we stop the Tennessee fast-paced offense? We saw it against Georgia. They went up 17-0 or whatever it was against Georgia in the blink of an eye. I was driving home. I didn't watch the first 5 minutes of that game. I go on and they're up by 3 scores. So Bama's going to have to do a job of both on offense and on defense saying, we need to slow this offense down. And then when we get the ball back, we need to go convert and score, which is the way to win football games, period. But it's especially in this game. We can't go out there and be settling for field goals or field goal attempts or punting the ball away and playing the field position battle. This is going to be one of those ones that's won on offense. I got a very high-scoring game predicted here. I'll go ahead and give it to you. I think it's going to be 30-42. I think Tennessee will get theirs. We'll get ours. I think that our defense has done a good job of stepping up in moments to make stops happen. We saw it against Georgia, big 4th down stop. We sait against Missouri, a couple of turnovers. We saw it against Vandy, a couple of red zone stops and turnovers. I think that our defense will step up in moments and make big enough plays. But it's going to be a dogfight. I said it before at the beginning of this year that I thought Oklahoma was going to be our biggest test at home. But for me now, I think it's Tennessee. Well, we saw how Oklahoma played this week. Injuries to quarterbacks will do that to you. But and Tennessee has injuries of their own. That secondary is beat up. They lost the wide receiver. But I think as an overall football team, when you talk about balanced play on offense, I think that Tennessee is going to be the best one we play all year. Now, when we talk about their defense, though, bit of a different story. It's similar to what we've had so far this year. Like Vanderbilt, like Missouri, very susceptible to the pass game. They've had some secondary guys that are beat up, and we need to take advantage of that. We need to stretch the field a little bit. I know that we like time of possession. I know that we like holding onto the football. Last year, we were a quick strike, hot, cold offense. We'd score in 30 seconds, but not be able to get off the field off defense, or the ball just wouldn't move, period. We would lose every time of possession battle. I like winning time of possession. I like keeping the ball out of Tennessee's hands. But if we can convert on stretching the field, let's stretch the field. Let's make that defense work, man. Let's make them tired. And then later on, if we're winning by a score or two, we can slow the game down. We can make the runs go. We can get the running backs working. We can lean on that defense a little bit that's already beaten up and tired because we've stretched them all up and down the field. I think that we will see a explosion of offense in this first half from both or either team, and then it's going to be all about controlling the game to finish it. Bama has this thing. We've done it a couple times so far this year with Georgia, Vandy, Mizzou. We've had opportunities to finish games and crack games. We haven't done it. We need to go out there and finish this game when we have the opportunities to, because if not, Tennessee can really come back and bite you. We talked a little bit about Jam Miller being hurt. That hurts us in 2 ways. He has been upgraded to probable in this game. I think he's probable in the same way that Ryan Williams was probable. He'll be out there. He'll be a decoy, but I don't see him getting a lot of play time in this game. I think he's a good guy to have in pass pro and a good guy who can catch the ball, run the ball. But concussions are scary, man. The way he got hit last week, I just don't see you coming back from that quickly. We saw it with Tua a couple of years ago, man. Went out, got a concussion. A game or two later, scary moment of concussion. So that's not something you want to mess with. And I know Jam's going to want to play. He's a competitor, senior season, wants to play against Tennessee. But I think we see his use being very limited. Another good number for Bama, 6 of 22. That's the third down conversion rate of both Vanderbilt and Missouri. Missouri last week went 1 of 11 on third downs. Vanderbilt went 5 of 11. So Bama's done a good job of getting off the field on third down. Defenses in the past have struggled to do that. One thing about a quick strike offense is if you get them going on 3 and out, you put that defense back out on the field quickly. So if you're Bama and you go eat up 6 minutes of possession, 14-play drive, 80 yards, whatever it is, and then Tennessee go get a quick 3 and out in 30 seconds, well, you stick that Tennessee defense back out there on the field and you run for another 6 minutes. And then you do the same thing again. So I like a quick strike offense. I think Hype does it very well, but it can have its downsides to defenses. And we see with this defense already, it's a pretty beat up unit. It's a struggling unit. So for them, they don't really want to make it more stressful on them than they have to. But I think that's something that we can exploit. Defense goes out there, does a good job getting off the field on third down, and then making that the other defense pay for it with offense being able to go in there and lean on them a little bit. I think that's about it. Let's see if I have anything else right now. Oh yeah, pass rush. Pass rush is going to be huge for both sides in this game. When you have a secondary like Tennessee's that's beat up and thin and not great as far as talent goes, how do you win? You bring pressure to the quarterback. You screw up the quarterback's timing. You disrupt him. You get sacks. You force bad throws. Stuff like that is what Tennessee's going to have to lean on in this game. And that's another place with Jam Miller. We're going to miss him. He's great in pass pro experience. Been there for a long time. Done it a bunch. So it's going to be down to some of those other running backs, not only to carry the ball well, but also to be good in pass pro. Josh Kravis, another good outlet for Ty this year. Done a really good job of being that dump guy. Whenever pressure's getting on, big body target out there, go get him the ball. Josh Kravis, I expect to have a good game. And for Bama, getting pass rush to Maliava. They've got a good set of our secondary is deep. Don't get me wrong. Our secondary is as good as anybody in the country. We're elite. We got true freshmen out there playing great football, but elite secondaries will get beat by elite receivers given the time. And what I mean by that is if he's able to go stand back there in the pocket 3, 4, 5 seconds, there will be guys getting open downfield and he will find them. What we have to do is create it where he has 2 to 3 seconds at each time where receivers can go up and maybe get a break on their route, and then we're at the quarterback. We're not allowing them to sit back and throw the ball and pick spots in zone coverage where you can eat up a zone coverage defense if you have time in the pocket. It's really simple. Those receivers are going to do a good job of finding space. Like I said, elite secondaries will be beat by elite receivers given the time. So guys like Yanze Pierre, Keon Keeley, LT Overton, guys like that are going to be essential on this defensive line of trying to get pressure. And we talked about it earlier in the year. We played the past 2 games saying we're not playing great pocket passers. Say if they start throwing the ball, we'll start getting interceptions. This week's the opposite. We really want to shut down that pass game and force them to go to the run because Tennessee thrives on explosive plays, and they can get explosive plays in the run game. Don't get me wrong, but most of it's going to come over the top. So if we can kill those explosive over the top plays and force them to say, you're going to keep the ball on the ground and you're going to have to grind for every yard you get, I'll take that every day of the week. Get pressure to, I almost said Maliava. He's not there anymore. Get pressure to Joey Aguilar, and I think we win this game. We can force him into some bad throws. We've seen in the past couple of weeks, anytime a bad throw is made out there, this secondary will chew it up. Tennessee will put the ball on the ground. I think that we can go out there if we take our opportunities and win this football game. But if we let them hang around and we let them stick around, we make it a 1-score game, and late in the fourth quarter, we could pay for it. So we need to go out there. We need to make our opportunities count, both with having the ball in the red zone, converting field goals when we have to, converting on sacks when we have pressures, getting turnovers. I think it's really going to come down to every single one of those things. And we've had a lot of games where they're won in moments, but this is probably going to be the biggest of the bunch. And we're going to need a couple moments to go our way, and we need to capitalize on some opportunities to really come out there and get away with this win comfortably. If not, it's going to be a tight game all the way through. This game has been a game that has been won by the home team for the past 4 years. It's 2-2. We've lost 2 away. We've won 2 at home. But before that, Tennessee hadn't won in Bryant-Denny since 2003. That's before some of you were alive. So let's keep it that way. I do not want to see a single cigar lit up in a Tennessee fan's hands this weekend. I want it to be covered in smoke by the end of the third quarter, all from Bama fans. So let's go out there. This is a big game this week. We got another one next week, but we just got to focus on it and do it one at a time. Go out there, do your job, convert on opportunities, and we can walk away with this ball game. So that's going to do it. I appreciate you guys staying around. I have no idea how long this show was, but it was probably the longest one I've done all year, and I'm sick doing it, so I apologize if I sound nasally or scruffy or lose my train of thought a handful of times. That post-flight sinus infection just got me this week. That and no sleep also got me, but we're here. Got the new studio set up. I appreciate you guys for watching. If you are here and you stayed for the whole entire podcast, please go down, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. You will enjoy it here. We'll be back on Monday talking about the preview or the review show of this game. We missed it this past week because I was out of town, but we're back on schedule. We're back here working and talking Tide. So I appreciate all you guys who have hung around. I think that's going to do it. We got to go win this one. I want to beat Tennessee more than I want to beat anybody else in the country. So let's go out. Let's win it. Everybody have a great week and a great weekend, and Roll Tide.